Hello students, today we are going to start our 6th chapter from your book First Flight, and the name of the chapter is The 100 Dresses Part 2 by Alps or Esther. So let us begin with the introduction first. In continuation of the previous lesson, The 100 Dresses Part 2 reveals why Wanda Petronsky had not been coming to school. The Petronsky family decided to move to a big city where no one would care about their unfamiliar name. On hearing the note, Maddie and Peggy got anxious as they realized that they would never get a chance for making amends for all the teasing they had done. Both the girls get relieved only on learning that Wanda liked them and had dedicated one of the 100 dresses, it means drawings, to each one of them. So let us begin our chapter. While the class was circling the room, the monitor from the principal's office brought Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands. "Attention class, everyone back to their seat." When the shuffling of feet had stopped and the room was still and quiet, Miss Mason said, "I have a letter from Wanda's father that I want to read to you." Miss Mason stood there a moment, and the silence in the room grew tense and expectant. The teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately. Her manner indicated that what was coming, this letter from Wanda's father, was a matter of great importance. Everybody listened closely as Miss Mason read the brief note. In this paragraph, listen closely, it means listen with attention. So here everyone was having a look at the amazing drawings Wanda had drawn and admiring it when the monitor of the class brought a piece of note for Miss Mason. Miss Mason read that note multiple times as she couldn't believe what was written in it. Finally, she decided to gather the class to read it loud and clear. It was a letter from Wanda Petronsky's father, Wanda's Petronsky's dad. She silenced for a while, which created tension in the minds of the students. She adjusted her spectacles, which made it clear how important that note is. She began reading it and everyone listened carefully. Now next lines. "Dear teacher, my Wanda will not come to your school anymore. Jake also. Now we move away to big city. No more holler Pollack. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Yours truly, Jane Petronsky." So, this letter began with a salutation to Miss Mason. Wanda's father conveyed his intention of not sending both of his children, Wanda and Jake, to school anymore. He mentioned that they were shifting to another city, a big one, where no one would care enough about their strange name. A big city with a lot of people having weird names. So Wanda's classmates thought her name was weird and funny. Wanda was a Polish immigrant to America and thus had unfamiliar name. Now next lines. A deep silence made the reading of this letter. Miss Mason took off her glasses, blew on them and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. Then she put them on again and looked at the class. When she spoke, her voice was very low. "I'm sure that none of the boys and girls in room 13 would purposely and deliberately hurt anyone's feelings because his or her name happened to be a long, unfamiliar one. I prefer to think that what was said in thoughtlessness. I know that all of you feel the way I do, that this is a very unfortunate thing to have happened. Unfortunate and sad, both. And I want you all to think about it." So here, after hearing what was there in that letter, everyone was left speechless. Miss Mason too was stunned and dull. She cleaned her glasses, wore them again, and spoke to the class in a low voice. She conveyed her disappointment to the class and asked them to assure her that nothing was done purposefully to hurt Wanda. She gave the children benefit of doubt that everything they did was done unintentionally. She said whatever happened was sad and unfortunate. She advised the students to introspect about it too. Now next paragraph. The first period was a study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lesson, but she could not put her mind on her work. She had a very sick feeling in the bottom of her stomach. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy ask Wanda how many dresses she had in her closet, but she had said nothing. She had stood by silently, and that was just as bad as what Peggy had done. Worse, she was a coward. At least Peggy hadn't considered they were being mean, but she, Maddie, had thought that they were doing wrong. She could put herself in Wanda's shoes. So here, in this paragraph, everyone began thinking about what was written in that letter and how each of one of them made Wanda feel. In their first period, Maddie couldn't concentrate on her studies as she felt sick for not stopping Peggy at the right time. Had she stopped Peggy from playing that dress game with Wanda, things could have been different. Although Maddie never teased Wanda, but nor did she stop Peggy from doing it, which makes her just as bad or maybe worse. Peggy's intentions were never to hurt Wanda, and she was not aware that her game hurt her feelings. Maddie, on the other hand, was aware of its impact, yet she stood silent, which made her a coward for not standing against what's wrong. Now next paragraph. Goodness, wasn't there anything she could do? If only she could tell Wanda she hadn't meant to hurt her feelings. She turned around and stole a glance at Peggy, but Peggy did not look up. She seemed to be studying hard. Well, whether Peggy felt badly or not, she, Maddie, had to do something. She had to find Wanda Petronsky. Maybe she had not yet moved away. Maybe Peggy would climb the heights with her, and they would tell Wanda she had won the contest, that they thought she was smart and the 100 dresses were beautiful. So in this paragraph, filled with guilt and regret, Maddie wished for a chance to apologize to Wanda, hoping Peggy would be thinking about Wanda too. She takes a look at Peg, but she was busy studying. Regardless of what Peggy was thinking, Maddie decided to take some action. She hoped Wanda hadn't yet moved away and she could tell her how sorry she was and appreciate her 100 dresses. Now, next paragraph. When school was dismissed in the afternoon, Peggy said with pretended casualness, "Hey, let's go and see if that kid has left town or not." So Peggy had the same idea. Maddie glowed. Peg was really all right. The two girls hurried out of the building up the street towards Boggins Heights, the part of town that wore such a forbidding air on this kind of a November afternoon, drizzly, damp and dismal. In this paragraph, damp and dismal, it means wet and sad, here expressing a state of hopelessness. Forbidding, it means unfriendly or threatening in nature. So that day, after the school had ended, Peggy asked Maddie if they could go and check if Wanda has moved or not. Maddie was satisfied at the thought that they both had same plans of apologizing to Wanda. Both of them hurried to Boggins Heights, the place where Wanda lived, in order to find her. During this season, the place was generally wet and the atmosphere was sad and hopeless. Now next paragraph. "Well, at least," said Peggy gruffly, "I never did call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had the sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb. And gee, look how she can draw." Maddie could say nothing. All she hoped was that they would find Wanda. She wanted to tell her that they were sorry they had picked on her and how wonderful the whole school thought she was, and please not to move away and everybody would be nice. She and Peggy would fight anybody who was not nice. The two girls hurried on. They hoped to get to the top of the hill before dark. In this paragraph, Peggy tries to comfort herself by murmuring that at least she didn't call her a foreigner because she was an immigrant. Neither did she make her feel different for having an unfamiliar name. She was always in this delusion that Wanda had no idea that those girls were making fun of her. Above all, Wanda is such a great artist too. Maddie, on the other hand, couldn't say a word. What she hoped for is a chance to confess, make amends, appreciate her and try to stop her from moving away. In fact, she even thought of conveying her idea to protect Wanda if anyone tried to trouble her in any way. In order to reach the place before night, they hurried. Now next paragraph. I think that's where the Petronsky live, said Maddie, pointing to a little white house. Wisps of old grass stuck up here and there along the pathway like thin kittens. The house and its sparse little yard looked shabby but clean. It reminded Maddie of Wanda's one dress, her faded blue cotton dress. Shabby but clean. There was not a sign of life about the house. Peggy knocked firmly on the door, but there was no answer. She and Maddie went around to the backyard and knocked there. Still there was no answer. So in this paragraph, they show a white little house up there, which they thought was the place where Wanda Petronsky lived. The house and its surroundings were shabby but clean, just like Wanda's worn-out blue dress, faded blue dress. Thin bunches of grass grew along the path that led to the house. They resembled thin kittens. No one could be seen around the house. They knocked both at the front and backyard doors, but to their disappointment there was no answer. Now next paragraph. There was no doubt about it. The Petronskys were gone. How could they ever make amends? They turned slowly and made their way back down the hill. Well, anyway, said Peggy, she's gone now, so what can we do? Besides, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawings. She might not even have won the contest otherwise. So in this paragraph, to make amends, it means to show that one is sorry by doing something else. Now the Petronskys had gone, and along with them, Maddie and Peggy's last chance to make amends too. In order to comfort herself, Peggy started saying that Wanda must have looked for drawing inspiration only after she started her dresses game. And hadn't she done that, Wanda would have never won the drawing competition. Now next paragraph. Maddie turned this idea carefully over in her head, for if there were anything in it, she would not have to feel so badly. But that night she could not get to sleep. She thought about Wanda and her faded blue dress and the little house she had lived in. And she thought of the glowing picture those 100 dresses made, all lined up in the classroom. At last Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands and really thought. This was the hardest thinking she had ever done. After a long time, she reached an important conclusion. She was never going to stand by and say nothing again. In this paragraph, Maddie also tried to convince her after what Peggy said, and that if this is the case, she doesn't have to feel so bad. But later that night, she couldn't sleep as she was thinking constantly about Wanda's little house, her faded blue dress, both shabby but clean, and her glorious 100 dresses that were all lined up in the classroom instead of the closet. So finally she sat in her bed and started thinking deeply, the hardest she had ever done. She pressed her forehead tight in her hands, which indicated that she was really trying to concentrate. After thinking so much and so deeply, she came to a conclusion that she will always stand against the wrongs and will never say nothing when she has to. Now, next paragraph. If she ever heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, she would speak up, even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship. She had no way of making things right with Wanda, but from now on she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. In this paragraph, picking on someone, it means criticizing someone. Now she decided that she would never let anyone make fun of others because of their appearance, name, clothes, or where they come from. She would not shy to speak up against Peggy, even if it meant losing her friendship. She could not go in the past to make amends with Wanda, no matter how much she wanted to, but from now on, she is never going to let another person feel embarrassed or unhappy again. Now, next paragraph. On Saturday, Maddie spent the afternoon with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Wanda Petronsky. It was just a friendly letter telling about the contest and telling Wanda she had won. They told her how pretty her drawings were, and they asked her if she liked where she was living and if she liked her new teacher. They had meant to say they were sorry, but it ended up with their just writing a friendly letter, the kind they would have written to any good friend, and they signed it with lots of X's for love. They mailed the letter to Boggins Heights, writing "Please forward" on the envelope. So, now on Saturday, both of them sat together, Maddie and Peggy sat together and decided to write a letter to Wanda, telling her about the contest, asking her where she is living now and how that place is. No matter how much they wanted to apologize, they couldn't summon the courage to do so, and thus ended up writing a friendly letter as if Wanda was their good friend. They mailed it to Boggins Heights with "Please forward" written on it because they didn't know her new address. Now, next paragraph. They passed and there was no answer, but the letter did not come back. So maybe Wanda had received it. Perhaps she was so hurt and angry she was not going to answer. You could not blame her. Weeks went by and still Wanda did not answer. Peggy had begun to forget the whole business, and Maddie put herself to sleep at night making speeches about Wanda, defending her from great crowds of girls who were trying to tease her with "How many dresses have you got?" And before Wanda could press her lips together in a tight line, the way she did before answering, Maddie would cry out, "Stop!" Then everybody would feel ashamed the way she used to feel. So, now there was no reply from Wanda, but they didn't also receive the letter back. Thus, they concluded that it must have reached Wanda's, but she was so upset that she didn't answer. They waited for weeks, but still no answer. Peggy began to forget about this whole thing, while Maddie used to make scenarios in her head before sleeping where she defended Wanda. She thought of scenarios where large groups of girls surrounded Wanda and would ask her, "How many dresses have you got?" And as soon as anyone could say more, Wanda would interrupt and say, "Stop," so that all of them could end up ashamed. Now, next paragraph. Now it was Christmas time and there was snow on the ground. Christmas bells and a small tree decorated the classroom on the last day of school before the holidays. The teacher showed the class a letter she had received that morning. "You remember Wanda Petronsky, the gifted little artist who won the drawing contest? Well, she has written me, and I am glad to know where she lives, because now I can send her medal. I want to read her letter to you." So, it was winter season and there was snow everywhere on the ground. Christmas had come. They decorated their classroom with bells and a small tree. That day, Miss Mason told the students that she had received a letter from Wanda Petronsky. She is very happy to receive it because now she can send her the medal too. "Dear Miss Mason, how are you and room 13? Please tell the girls they can keep those 100 dresses because in my new house I have 100 new ones all lined up in my closet. I would like that girl Peggy to have the drawing of the green dress with the red trimmings and her friend Maddie to have the blue one. For Christmas, I miss that school and my new teacher does not equalize with you. Merry Christmas to you and everybody. Yours truly, Wanda Petronsky. So the letter began in a very friendly tone. Wanda asked how everyone was and that they could keep her 100 dresses because in her new house she has another lot of 100 dresses lined up in her closet. She specifically mentioned the dress she wanted Maddie and Peggy to take home. The green dress with red trimmings was for Peggy while the blue one was for Maddie. She expressed her affection towards Miss Mason and wrote her new teacher could never replace Miss Mason. She winded up the letter by wishing everyone Merry Christmas and also wrote that she missed everyone in room number 13. Now next paragraph. On the way home from school, Maddie and Peggy held their drawings very carefully. All the houses had wreaths and holly in the windows. Outside the grocery stores, hundreds of Christmas trees were stacked, and in the window, candy, peppermint sticks and cornucopias of shiny transparent paper were strung. The air smelled like Christmas and lights shining everywhere reflected different colors on the snow. Boy, said Peggy, this shows she really likes us. It shows she got our letter and this is her way of saying that everything's alright. And that's that. I hope so, said Maddie sadly. She felt sad because she knew she would never see the little tight-lipped Polish girl again and couldn't ever really make this right between them. In this paragraph, cornucopias, it means decorative containers usually containing flowers and fruits. Holly, it means a shrub having prickly dark green leaves, small white flowers and red berries. It is used in Christmas decorations. So it was Christmas season and all the houses were decorated. Grocery stores were stocked with Christmas trees, candy, peppermint sticks and other Christmas stuff. The atmosphere was colorful and joyful. Maddie and Peggy took home the drawings very carefully when Peggy realized that this gesture implied that Wanda liked them. They also assumed that she got their letter and everything was peaceful between them. Maddie, on the other hand, was quite sad because she would never be able to see that polished, tight-lipped girl again. She would never get a chance to make amends, to say sorry. Now, next paragraph. She went home and she pinned her drawing over a torn place in the pink flowered wallpaper in the bedroom. The shabby room came alive from the brilliancy of the colors. Maddie sat down on her bed and looked at the drawing. She had stood by and said nothing, but Wanda had been nice to her anyway. So, as soon as Maddie reached home, she displayed her drawing on that part of the wall from where her pink flowered wallpaper was slightly torn. Maddie's room was shabby too, but the drawing made it lively. She started at the drawing constantly and thought how nice Wanda had been to them. Now, next paragraph. Tears blurred her eyes and she gazed for a long time at the picture. Then hastily she rubbed her eyes and studied it intently. The colors in the dress were so vivid that she had scarcely noticed the face and head of the drawing. But it looked like her. Maddie! It really looked like her own mouth. Why, it really looked like her own self. Wanda had really drawn this for her. Excitedly, she ran over to Peggy's. So while staring at the drawing Wanda had given her, Maddie's vision got blurred from tears. She rubbed her eyes and noticed that Wanda had actually drawn Maddie's face along with the dress. The colors of the dress were so bright and vibrant that the face was hardly visible. Maddie got excited and ran towards Peggy to check if she had noticed it too. Now next lines. Peg, she said, let me see your picture. What's the matter? Asked Peggy as they clattered up to her room where Wanda's drawing was lying face down on the bed. Maddie carefully raised it. Look, she drew you. That's you, she exclaimed. And the head and face of this picture did look like Peggy. So, as soon as she reached Peggy's house, she asked her for the picture. The drawing was lying upside down on the bed. Maddie raised it, and yes, it was Peggy in that drawing. Both were left in shock and awe at the same time. Now, next lines. What did I say? Said Peggy. She must have really liked us anyway. Yes, she must have, agreed Maddie. And she blinked away the tears that came every time she thought of Wanda standing alone in that sunny spot in the schoolyard, looking stolidly over at the group of laughing girls after she had walked off, after she had said, sure, 100 of them all lined up. So when Peggy exclaims that she was right about the thought that Wanda liked them, Maddie, whose eyes get filled with tears every time she recalled that scene where Wanda would look at the girls laughing at her, also agreed with Peggy. So, our lesson, The 100 Dresses Part 2, begins with all the students of room number 13 having a look at the wonderful drawings of Wanda Petronsky. Only then, a note is received by Miss Mason from Wanda's father informing that none of his two children will attend the school as they are moving to a big city where no one would judge them for their names. Miss Mason was left shocked and conveyed her disappointment to the class. Maddie was affected by this letter of Wanda's father. She instantly developed an urge to apologize to Wanda. Peggy and Maddie, the two best friends, rushed to Boggins Heights, hoping that the family hadn't moved yet. But to their dismay, there was no sign of life in and around the house. Maddie lost her sleep thinking what a coward she is who couldn't stand against the wrong. That day, she decided that she will never let anyone tease someone like that again. That weekend, Peggy and Maddie decided to write a letter to Wanda that was originally meant to be apologetic, but they ended up writing a friendly note asking her how did she like the new place. Weeks passed by and there was no reply until one day near Christmas. Miss Mason announces that she heard from Wanda. In that letter, Wanda wrote she misses everyone and conveyed her intention of gifting one dress each to Maddie and Peggy because she has a whole new lot of 100 dresses lined up in her new house. Both of them were happy to receive it and later realized that it was their faces she had drawn along with the dresses. Thus, they both concluded that Wanda did like them. So with this, our 6th chapter, The 100 Dresses Part 2 is completed over here. Thank you.